All right, so you're getting close to 65. Thinking about how to make sure your finances are all set for retirement. Well, that's what we're looking at in this deep dive. We're going through this article, 10 financial must-dos before you turn 65. And we're going to try to pull out the most helpful stuff. Think of it kind of like a cheat sheet to help you feel good about your money. We'll cover it all. Like how to get more value out of your house, even a secret that billionaires use to invest. And hey, maybe we'll even find some ways you can save money right now. Ready to get started?
Yeah, let's dive in. There's a lot to talk about here. And I think some of what we find might surprise you.
Okay, so first up, this idea really caught my eye. Turning your home into a payday. I mean, we all know houses are investments, but this is taking it to a whole new level.
Oh, yeah, it definitely is. The article talks about these things called reverse mortgages. It's basically a way to use the equity you've built up in your home.
Mm.
Instead of making those monthly payments, you can actually start getting payments
Mm.
based on that equity.
Wait, hold on. No more mortgage payments. That sounds almost too good to be true. Especially when we're all trying to figure out how to have enough money for retirement. But what's the catch? There's got to be a downside, right?
Well, yeah, of course.
Uh,
It's not like a magic solution or anything. And it's really important to understand all the details before you jump into something like this. Even though you're not making payments anymore, the interest is still adding up on the loan. And over time, that can really eat away at your equity.
that makes sense. So it's not like free money or anything. It's more like you're getting access to the money you've already built up. But it comes with some extra costs.
Yeah, exactly. And you really have to think about what it means in the long run,
Mm.
especially if you're planning on leaving your home to your kids or family. A reverse mortgage could mean they get a lot less.
So it sounds like there are a lot of things to think about before deciding if a reverse mortgage is the right move, but at least it's something to consider, right?
Absolutely. It's all about having different options and choosing the one that works best for you.
Okay, let's move on to another big one, Medicare. Choosing a Medicare plan feels like you're trying to get through a maze blindfolded. Honestly, it kind of stresses me out.
Yeah, I get that. And the article says that something like 90% of Americans might be signed up for Medicare plans that aren't the best fit for them. That's a pretty big deal when you think about how important healthcare is as we get older.
90%. Wow. Okay, now I'm really paying attention. So, what are some of the mistakes people make when they're choosing a plan? And how can we avoid falling into that trap?
Well, a lot of times people get overwhelmed by all the choices,
Yeah.
and they end up just going with whatever their doctor suggests or what their friends are doing. But everyone's needs are different. You really got to understand your own healthcare needs. Compare the costs and coverage. And don't be afraid to ask questions.
That makes sense. We definitely don't want to end up paying for coverage we don't need, or even worse, not having the coverage we do need when we need it. The article mentioned this company called Chapter that gives free advice on Medicare. Do you think those advisors would be helpful with this whole decision?
They could be, yeah. It can be really helpful to have an expert walk you through everything and explain the details, especially since they're not trying to sell you a particular plan.
Okay, so when it comes to Medicare, the main takeaway is to do your research and get advice from an expert to find the best plan for you. Got it. Now, who doesn't love saving money? The article says a lot of us could be overpaying on our car insurance, like hundreds of dollars every year.
Yeah, and with all the different discounts and stuff out there, it's hard to know if you're really getting the best deal. The article says to use tools like Finance Buzz to compare rates from a bunch of insurance companies.
So it's kind of like shopping around for the best price, but for car insurance. But does it really make that much of a difference?
Oh, it can. Even small differences in those monthly payments can add up over time, especially if you've been with the same company for years without checking if you could get a better deal. Plus, those online tools make it so much easier than calling around or going to different agents.
Okay, you've convinced me. I'm definitely going to look into that. Next up, let's talk about something that might not be the most exciting topic, but it's super important: estate planning. I know it's something I've been putting off, but maybe we can talk about why it's so important, especially as we get closer to retirement.
Definitely. Having a will and a trust makes sure that all your stuff goes to the right people and that your loved ones are taken care of. It can also help you save on taxes and avoid family fights.
Okay, that makes sense. But to be honest, the whole process seems kind of scary and maybe even expensive. The article mentioned this company called Ethos. They say they make estate planning simpler and easier to afford. Do you think using a platform like that is a good idea?
It could be, yeah. Ethos and companies like them offer a way to do it that's more streamlined and cheaper than going to a lawyer. They guide you through the whole process, help you understand all the different documents, and they even have online tools so you can create and update your plan.
So it's like having your own virtual lawyer, but hopefully without those big legal fees.
Exactly. And having a good estate plan can really give you peace of mind, knowing
Yeah.
that everything is taken care of no matter what happens in the future.
All right, so we've talked about getting the most out of your home equity, figuring out Medicare, saving money on car insurance, and getting our state plans in order. It's a pretty good start to our financial to-do list, don't you think?
Definitely. And we're just getting started. The rest of the article has some really interesting ideas, including one that you might not expect, investing like a billionaire.
Ooh, now that's something I want to hear more about. But first, let's take a quick break and hear from our sponsors. We'll be right back with more financial wisdom.
Okay, we're back. Ready to tackle some more of these financial must-dos from the article. Let's talk about something that can really mess up our financial plans, those unexpected car repairs.
Oh, yeah, tell me about it. The article said the average car repair bill can be over $4,000 now. That's a lot of money, especially if you're on a fixed income. Ouch, yeah. That's not something you want to have to deal with in retirement. But the article did mention a possible solution: extended car warranties, specifically from this company called Car Shield. Is that something worth looking into?
It could be, yeah. Especially if you have an older car or one that's known to have problems. An extended warranty can help cover those big repair costs and give you some peace of mind. But like anything else, it's super important to read all the details, make sure you understand what's covered and what's not.
So you're saying it's all about weighing the cost of the warranty against how much those repairs could cost you. And like with any financial product, do your research.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to shop around and compare different warranty companies. Find the best coverage and price for what you need.
Good advice. Okay, let's switch gears to something a little more fun. Home improvement. The article talked about using the equity in your home to pay for those renovations you've always wanted.
Yeah. We already talked about reverse mortgages, but another option is a home equity line of credit, or HELOC. It lets you borrow money using your home's equity at a pretty low interest rate.
So it's kind of like a second mortgage, but with more flexibility.
Exactly. You can use the money for all sorts of things, like remodeling your kitchen or paying off other debts. And unlike a regular loan, you only pay interest on the amount you actually use.
That sounds pretty good, especially if you're thinking about a big home project or need to pay off some high-interest debt. But of course, there are always risks with borrowing money, especially when your home is involved.
Oh, you're definitely right. It's important to remember that HELOC is still a loan. If you can't make the payments, you could lose your home. So borrow responsibly and don't take on more than you can handle.
Solid advice. Now let's talk about something that can be a real problem for a lot of people: credit card debt.
Yeah, credit card debt can be really stressful, especially when those interest rates start adding up. The article suggests looking into debt relief programs, like the one from National Debt Relief. They can help if you're struggling with a lot of debt.
So these programs, they basically talk to your credit card companies and try to lower your debt. And then they help you come up with a payment plan you can actually afford, right?
That's the general idea, yeah. But it's important to note that these programs usually have fees, and they might hurt your credit score.
It's not a quick fix. You really need to do your research and find a good company with a good reputation.
Okay, so if you're thinking about a debt relief program, do your homework and be careful. It's not a decision to make lightly.
Exactly. And remember, sometimes the best way to get rid of debt is to make a budget, cut back on spending, and focus on paying it off as fast as you can on your own.
All right, let's move on to something a little more fun. Earning some extra cash. The article mentioned this platform called Free Cash. You can earn money by doing different things online. Have you ever looked into that? Yeah, I have. It seems like a popular way for people to make some extra money in their free time. You can get rewards by taking surveys, watching videos, or trying out new products and services.
So it's not going to replace your regular job, but it could be a way to make a little extra spending money or add to your savings, right?
Exactly. And what I think is interesting is that free cash lets you get your money in different ways, like PayPal, cryptocurrency, or even gift cards.
Yeah.
That's pretty flexible.
I can see how that would be appealing. Okay, now for the big finish, the strategy that really got my attention: investing like a billionaire. Tell me more about that.
The article talks about investing in art, something that super rich people have been doing forever. But now there are platforms like Masterworks that are making it possible for regular people to invest too.
Art investing, that's not something I ever thought about. But how does it actually work? And is it really a good option for someone who's not, a billionaire?
Well, Masterworks lets you buy parts of really valuable pieces of art, kind of like buying stock in a company. So instead of needing millions of dollars, you can own a small piece of a Picasso or a Warhol.
So it's like teaming up with other investors to own a piece of famous art. That's kind of cool. But is it a good investment?
Well, the article said that contemporary art has actually done better than the stock market over the past 30 years. Of course, just because it did well in the past doesn't mean it will in the future. And art investing has its own risks.
I bet one of the big ones is that it's hard to sell quickly. It's not like you can just sell a painting as easily as you can sell a stock.
You're right, art is a long-term investment. You really need to understand the market and the risks before you jump in. But if you're looking for a way to diversify your investments and maybe tap into something with a lot of growth potential, it might be worth checking out.
Okay, so we've talked about how to protect ourselves from those big car repair bills, how to use the equity in our homes, how to deal with credit card debt, how to make some extra money, and even how to invest like a billionaire. That's a lot of information.
It is, and really, we've only just touched on these topics. It's important to do your own research and get advice from a professional before you make any big financial decisions.
Couldn't agree more. Now, before we wrap up this deep dive, let's hear a word from our sponsors. We're back for the last part of our deep dive, getting financially ready for that big 6-5. You stuck with us through reverse mortgages and art investing, even that tough talk about credit card debt. So what are your biggest takeaways so far?
I'm really struck by just how many options we have. This article wasn't just about pinching pennies. It was about being proactive and making our money work better for us.
I totally agree. And we've really only scratched the surface, right? Each one of these topics could be a whole deep dive on its own. But even just having this overview feels good. Like we've got a mad instead of wandering around lost in the financial world.
Exactly. And one thing that keeps coming back to me is planning ahead, whether it's for healthcare or estate planning or even car repairs. Being prepared can save us a lot of stress and maybe even a lot of money later on.
So true. And it kind of connects to another theme we've talked about, getting advice from experts. Sometimes it's really worth it to get a professional opinion, especially when we're making big financial decisions. They can help us understand all the complicated stuff and avoid making expensive mistakes.
Right. It's like having a financial coach on your side, helping you reach your goals. But even with expert advice, it's still super important to do our own research and make sure we really understand what we're getting into.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, we're the ones in control of our own money.
Speaking of being in control, here's something I've been thinking about. As we've been talking about all these financial must-dos, what about the stuff that isn't about money? We've talked about how to be financially secure, but what about being happy?
That's a great point. It's not just about having enough money, it's about having a life that's full of meaning and joy. How do you think we can do that?
Well, I think it starts with figuring out what really matters to us. What are we passionate about? What makes us feel fulfilled? And then how can we bring those things into our retirement?
I love that. It's about designing a retirement that we really want, not just the default retirement of sitting on a beach somewhere. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but there's so much more we can do.
Exactly. It's about creating a life that's both financially secure and personally fulfilling.
Well said. So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's leave our listeners with this. Remember, retirement isn't just an ending. It's a new beginning. It's a time to explore new things, chase our dreams, and create a life that truly reflects who we are.
And hey, maybe even try out some of those billionaire investment strategies.
Why not? We've got nothing to lose and a whole lot of life to live. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into financial readiness. We hope you learned something valuable and feel ready to take charge of your financial future.
Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.